What are cryptocurrencies?
Hey, hey, hey.
What are NFTs?
A non-fungible token.
Time to buy Bitcoin.
Bitcoin just seems like a scam.
What's up? Bitcoin!
Hello everyone. Welcome back to On The Ledger. This is your host Moul Said, and I'm back once again on your weekly rendezvous from Paris. I've been looking forward to this episode since I first spoke to our guests a couple of weeks ago, because our guest today is an exceptional one that I have to say I'm a big fan of. He's an electronic music pioneer, a composer, producer, curator, and DJ. His music flows between different genres and locations, from raves to clubs to radio stations, and hell, even space satellites. But he's also a man of many talents, with eclectic interests in contemporary art, fashion, poetry, AI, and most recently, crypto art and NFTs, which we'll explore in a minute. You might recognize him from this.
I was mistaken.
Or this.
You're not alone, and I'm not alone.
Or my favorite. So, enough teasing. As you might have guessed it, our guest today is Sébastien Devaud, aka Agoria. Seb, welcome to On The Ledger. How are you feeling today?
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mo, for this great introduction. I think you can't see me, but I'm blushing. So thanks a lot for having me in this show. I'm super grateful to be here with you and to speak about what I'm doing in the NFT world, actually.
No, I'm the one who's super grateful. I'm a big fan of you, and I'm super excited to jam with you on this one. So I want us to get started right away. So this is On The Ledger, Season 2, Episode 8, The World of Agoria. Here we go. So let's start from the beginning. It's clear that you're an artist with a deep interest in technology, so it's probably not surprising to see you exploring the non-fungible world. But what I'm quite curious about is kind of your light bulb moment, because everyone has this light bulb moment where you go, aha, okay, this is something interesting. How did it happen?
About the NFT world exactly, or about the crypto in general?
Crypto art and NFTs, or crypto in general, like whatever you prefer. We can start from crypto and go down to NFTs if you wish.
I think I've been introduced to crypto through actually two other artists from the electronic scene. One is Danny Days from Miami, and one is Patrice Baumel from Holland. And both were like really pushing me into this world. It was, I think, 2016, 2017. And they were like telling me, no, Seb, you should really put your ears and try to see what's happening at the moment in crypto. It's amazing. So, of course, a lot of people know that I'm kind of a utopist, and I'm really into utopia. And, I started when I was a kid organizing rave parties, which I think, in my opinion, the rave parties is one of these last place on earth where we can have this feeling of freedom, and where it's totally, under any control. You are like, you organize a party and there is no rules and you don't know what's going to happen. And actually, that's really what I love when I started electronic music, and what I feel today in this NFT space is like the energy and everything was possible. And the community, was like very strong. And I was really into this when I started. And of course, people knew this from me, that I was organizing rave parties and then festivals like Nuit Sonore Festival in Lyon. And so they say, you should put your ears and watch what's happening now in the crypto space. And I guess they were right.
That's actually amazing. You know that Nuit Sonore is the first festival I've ever done in France. So I love this festival, and it's kind of great to... Actually, the link between electronic music and NFTs and crypto is just so strong about what you mentioned and the values. So let's...
there is something like, for example, in crypto, it's funny because there is always this joke about the Chinese ban coming every 2 weeks or so. And people forget that, but electronic music was banned. It was forbidden to dance on electronic music. Back in the days, you couldn't organize parties, you couldn't organize festival. Everything was canceled by the police. And so in a way, it's kind of similar. And of course, when something is banned, the community is so strong behind, because how can you ban something that is decentralized? How can you ban something that you really appeal for it? So, I feel this parallelism is kind of true.
That's a great parallel. That's actually a little aha moment I just had there. So once you started exploring the NFT realms, What inspired you the most, or who inspired you? Was it like a project or certain execution, maybe an artist?
So the thing is, I'm doing a lot of photographies, and I'm really into design, of course, and I collaborate with a lot of contemporary artists, especially Philippe Parreno, who I guess was my main inspiration. I did a few exhibitions with him, like in the Tate Modern in London and Armory Park in New York. And I think I learned a lot collaborating with him in his own exhibitions. And I wanted to start in the NFT with something that was, in my opinion, something that was interesting enough, because of course there are so many NFTs, so many visual artists, very talented, that are dropping things constantly since maybe 2-3 years, let's say, something like this. And I didn't want to arrive and to be like an opportunist, so I really wait for me to get the right project and the right time to do this. So I started with a project named Phytocene that I did with a biophysicist, Nicolas Desprats from École Normale Supérieure in Paris, and sound designer Nicolas Becker, who actually just won the Oscar for Sound of Metal. And I really recommend you to watch this movie. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And he managed to actually make you feel the sense of what is the silence. So making the silence in music is kind of amazing. So I think you should definitely watch this movie. Because the story of is a drummer who got death in a tour. He's playing in a band, and he got death when he was playing on a gig. And so the whole movie is actually to make you feel what is the sensation when you lose the ability to listen things, And it's so the silence is in the middle of this movie, and the fact of losing your ears, Of course, as a DJ and musician, I'm very stressed by this. And I was during the whole movie, I was like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? But so this project, this first project, Phytocene, I felt, because we were asking ourselves, is it something that it's going to be a film that's going to be in a museum, or do we want to a physical museum, or do we want to maybe do our first NFT with this? And I thought it was interesting because we were recording the living, and the living, like, it's something that is very difficult to catch. It's something, of course, that is in the instant and it disappears, and there's something that is totally wild. And I thought it was interesting to record on the blockchain the living. So I thought it was a good start for NFT, not to trying to capture microorganisms, cells, the growth of plants. And it has been like 3 months of a lot of work. We were like collecting data for the sound with probes under the hemp field, because it's a project about hemp field, and the hemp is the marijuana cousin, let's say, so it's the marijuana without the high effect. But this project was very mind-blowing. We did this in Le Marais, 30 minutes from Paris. And so we did this first one. It went through auction house. It went through Philips. And from that point, I said, okay, I did my first step in the NFT world, and then I was feeling a bit more comfortable to show my art and my projects.
Absolutely. So you've been dropping NFTs on Foundation since early summer this year, if I'm not mistaken. Starting with What is the Dead Dream, to This Is Not Van Gogh, to What If Midday Was at Midnight. And I have to say, it's an incredible mix of generative art, AI, science, and of course, music. Talk to us about your creative approach to the first Foundation drops and what you've been exploring along the way up until your most recent drop that we'll talk about in a minute.
So for the early ones, it was connected to the music I was releasing. So What If the Daydream is a track I did with the Colombian singer Ella Minus, and I'm a big fan of her voice. And I wrote this title, What If the Daydream, and I sent her the track, and she told me, it's incredible you sent me this track because I actually just come back from a near-death experience.
Wow.
And it was not something that it was, planned, and I didn't know that, because I questioned her about her own album, and the track was only codes and numbers. And I said, what is this code? And she told me it's the code of the area of the hospital I wake up after 3 days in the coma. And so I was like totally, for the first minute I spoken with him because I didn't know her. I was just fan. I say, we managed to get in touch, and so I was sending her the track. And would you like to sing on this? And she said, I didn't have to listen to it because the title of the song was exactly just what I experienced. And she got abused in a party, and I take 1 minute of speaking about this. She got abused in a party, and she has been abandoned, and she wake up at the hospital. And I think anything you can do in a party, having fun, taking drugs or whatever, I think you should be surrounded with friends and not to be led by yourself with people you're not totally convinced and sure about. So I think and I'm happy to say this also because she expressed it recently, because for a long time she didn't want to speak about that. So that was the birth of this track. And so I was thinking, how could I express this? And so I worked with my biophysicist, Nicolas, and we decided to show some bacteria and microorganisms. And just when they start to...
The birth of the microorganisms?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was the birth of the microorganism. And I thought it was interesting to express again the living through that,
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was connected to the song, and I thought it was cool to express the growth and the life and the living in this song too again.
Yeah, that's an amazing story actually, and thank you for the message. It's an important
Because
message.
there is something, there is something which I think is coming from my work, of course, in the contemporary art, but I feel the narration, the story behind the pieces is even more important than the pieces itself. Because sometimes I see some polls on Twitter and what is important for you in the art, blah blah blah. But in my opinion, in the narration and the story behind and why you do this, and it's not to be intellectual, it's not to be cerebral. It's just like, it's very important that is something that it goes beyond the visual aspect. Of course, the visual aspect is the first thing that appeals us, and we want to, okay, we like it, okay, I see it here, blah, blah, blah. But the story behind is even more important, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Context and storytelling are two things that appeal to the emotions and to the intellect, and it's part of the artwork. And speaking of, artworks, your most recent drop called What If the Earth Would Turn Faster is a collaboration with Obvious, a fascinating collective of French artists who are exploring the creative potential of AI. How did that come into play, and what was that collaboration like? Because it's a big one.
I was really happy about this, to be honest. The first time we met, they went to visit an exhibition I was doing during Art Basel in Miami. I think it was before the year before the pandemic. I was showing some arts, and they went and they show up, and that's the first time I met them, and I felt connected immediately with the guys. The energy, they were like super excited and super positive people. And when Adrien, who works with me, showed me their work and say, maybe you should guys do something together, I said, definitely. There is no question, and I'm super happy to work with them. And I just launched my new album named .dev, and I was thinking it would be great to launch this with them. So I sent them a track named What If Earth Would Turn Faster? And we started thinking about the ideas, and the sound is all AI generated. So maybe we're going to speak about this later. And Obvious, of course, came with some ideas about their AI work. And about AI, I think, recently I was thinking, artificial intelligence is such a bad word.
Mm-hmm.
It's a terrible word.
Absolutely.
I think it's a word from the past. It expresses something from nowadays, or even maybe a bit the future. But it's a word from the past, and I think who wants to work with something that is artificial? Mm-hmm. Nobody. And it's a bit scary in a way. So I was telling this to the guys, and I say, you know what? I would love to speak. Maybe there is a bit of algorithm intelligence, AI, but I think even more we are more in augmented intelligence. And when you think about doing art with an AI as an augmented intelligence, it's already more cool, Mm-hmm. It's already something more interesting and appealing, I guess, because it's not the AI who is doing the work, of course, It's just something that is use as a tool to express your human point of view.
It's a companion. It's a companion that helps.
It's a friend.
Exactly. That I think you make a point here, and we'll dive more into AI in a few minutes. But I want us to talk more about NFTs and music, because NFTs have taken the art and gaming industries by storm, and I feel that the music industry might be next. Because the internet's dematerialization effect allowed for massive scalability and ultimately democratized the music industry. Anyone can listen to any track or can produce any track if they have access to an internet connection and a laptop, basically, and they can produce unlimited music, which is great. But that was kind of made at the expense of musical scarcity, so you don't go dig for vinyl anymore. I mean, still a lot of DJs do, but you don't have this aspect of I have a track that is super scarce apart from having it in having a vinyl record. And of course, there is the artist compensation aspect to it, of having the music industry that is completely led by centralized institutions who are music streaming service providers. What's your point of view about that? I know the question was super long, but I really wanted to put the whole context in there. What's your opinion about that? And do you think that NFTs can actually change that?
I think NFT will change the music, but not as it's done by today, if I'm sincere. I think it's very difficult today to say, okay, here's my track, you can buy it as it is on iTunes or as it is on any other DSP platform. I think if it's just that, there is no luck, I think, to be honest. And maybe one artist very famous here and there will do a big amount of money for this or this song. But my opinion is the blockchain gives us so many perspectives that it questions the format of the audio. And when I'm saying this is, for example, if I'm speaking about the samples, and if you do a song and someone sample your song, or as an artist, if I sample something, you have to, for example, ask the publisher, we have to ask the authorization, we have to negotiate that. But the blockchain nowadays, for example, could allow to say, okay, if you want to use my voice, this is this. If you want to use the drum part, this is this. If you want to use the bass, the bass, this is it. We can actually, in the format of the song, decide all the layers, and you can say, okay, for the voice is a 20%, I don't know, or if you want to use the bass line in your song, it's free, or you can actually decide, and this is just one aspect of what you could do with the format. But also the format could, as soon as you play it, could detect if you have like 1 speaker, 2 speakers, 5 speakers, 10 speakers in your place, and adapt the way it plays. I think the possibilities are endless. And at the moment, it's just a point wave, or sometimes even an MP3, which is so wrong. I think it's very early, and it's very not totally scaled yet. I think it will. I think it definitely will. And I know some people who are working on those questions already, and I think they will do amazing. But at the moment, I guess we still have to elaborate how it can be very smart and clever to use NFT for audio. And at the moment, it's just kind of basic, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we also need people like you and other artists that, experiment with the technology and are able to form some sort of bridge between this industry and blockchains and NFTs and everything related to that. So when you think of the future, what excites you the most?
I think to be honest, the present is super exciting.
Okay.
And I really feel this period is fantastic for artists. You can actually, it's a big reset for art in general, not only music, not only video, but I can see so many cross-disciplinaries and cross-modeled, let's say, that is very interesting to be part of. And I didn't feel this for the last 10 or 15 years. If I'm just speaking about electronic music, I think, there is not so many inventions as like musically, I would say. There is not something where you would say, oh, I never heard that. Just the music by itself. But the technology now will help us to actually go beyond that. And I feel it's a new era, and it's not only about art, but the world in general. We are coming from a one-dimension world to a multi-dimension world. So it's not that we're gonna delete the physical world. It's not that we're gonna delete what's happening. Is we are adding layers, and we are adding perspectives, and I did a lot of let's say like a experience of consciousness in my life. And of course, I know that our eyes are lying to us every day, and what we see is just a very little fragment of what is happening. And so I feel that we are coming to cross all this approach, the cosmic kind of mystical approach to the technology one, and I think they will all be connected very fast.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that electronic music is at the forefront of this technological adoption, and speaking of the advancement of AI as well, and to your earlier point, we're starting to see fascinating performances that sit right in the middle of audio and visual art. I'm thinking of Dixon and Transmoderna, for instance. Do you think that the future of electronic music will be audiovisual, multidimensional, as you just mentioned? And how do you see that evolving?
So I think it also depends on the experience. If we speak about the private experience, or if we speak about an audience experience, or if we speak about the studio work experiences, I think it's 3 different way of approaching this.
Let's explore them.
In the studio experience, I really feel that, thinking about a track that is never static anymore is something totally new. And I just explore with my friends from Bronze, with a company expert in audio and AI in England. We start to experiment this and released a player recently where every time you press play, you can hear a new version of the song. So the song is never the same. And it's only you who are gonna listen to this version. So this song is just for you, it's your intimate one, and you will never be able to listen again twice the same one. And actually, that I think is something very interesting because it questions the place of your own decision, your judgment, what you think is good, what you think is bad, and all your like your certitudes. I don't know if the word in English actually is certitude.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yes. But I'm very excited by that. And again, it's not the AI who is like deciding for us, because there is a lot of work to manage to make a song every time you press play being listenable and not being a chaos, not being totally crazy. So it's a lot of work to manage this, and it's a lot of it's a kind of the art blocks, but in audio, And I think it's very interesting. And actually on the obvious drop we did for the planets, the song is attached to it. So we took 5 iterations of the song that this player did, and the song is attached to it, and every song is different. So I think it's very interesting, this approach.
It is fascinating, and I love the analogy that you made with art blocks. So it's basically a song generator, and when you click on the button, and that's what I really like about art blocks, is that you participate in the creation of the artwork. You feel that you're doing something as a user, as a collector, and that you are adding or participating in the creative process itself, which is in itself, it's something that's so disruptive to the actual, top-down model of creativity, which is fascinating. What about the performance aspect when you think of, club performances, festivals?
So recently, in this hemp field, they asked me to do a party in the hemp, blah, blah, blah. And I felt, let's do something a bit different. So instead of me performing, let's ask if the hemp field would perform itself. So we started collected the data from this hemp field, and we create a radio named Hemp FM, and you can listen 24/24, 7 day a week, and you can have the song in the language of the hemp field. So it's not anymore me who is playing. It's, of course, there are some sound. It's a hybrid system. There are some sounds and some layers that we created, but it's totally played through the hemp. The growth of the hemp, the respiration. We put a meteor station also that triggers this. So if it's raining, if there is wind, if there is pressure, atmospheric is changing, or whatever it's happening, it triggers this radio. And I think it's very interesting to perform this and actually to connect with the living. And I speak a lot about the living because they are so connected to the algorithm. If more you study the living, more you see how close it is to an algorithm. I'm not here to speak about the matrix kind of way of, but there are so many, I think it's Philip K. Dick who was telling in the 70s that we were living in a program computer reality. And I agree 100% at the moment, because all what we are experiencing, or what we are doing in laboratories with scientific or philosopher, put us closer to this. And this is why I want to work a lot with the living inside the blockchain, because one day maybe they will merge.
That's fascinating. I mean, maybe you could talk to us more about your future projects, personal projects, and artistic projects before we move on to the last segment of the show. I could keep going for hours, but I know that time is tight. So maybe tell us what you're up to next. What from a musical standpoint, but of course from an crypto art standpoint as well.
My problem is I have one idea every day.
Okay.
That's a big problem for everyone who works with me, because every day there is not something new popping up. But so let's say today.
Okay.
Today, I discovered recently this Objkt platform, and a bit before the Ikenunk drama that happened this weekend, last weekend. And so tomorrow, I think I will reveal first art piece on Objkt about what I call a biological generative art. It questions all our human gestures and all human actions. And it's a project that I think show human actions for years, and actually how it's so close again to be like biological and real generative art are very close of each other. So it's a project that I will show on Objkt, and I'm very happy about this, because I discover so many artists in this platform. I think it's amazing, all the talents that are here, and I have to say that also the team is very nice, and every time I speak with the team, they show me art, because I'm buying a lot of NFTs also. I mean, it's a bit like DJ, I do music, but I buy a lot of records. You were speaking about vinyls before, and I'm buying still vinyls every week, from shops, in my favorite shops that are Phonica and Boomcat in London, both of them. And I'm buying a lot, and it's the same with the NFTs. I'm addicted to it now, Every day, I monitor the wallet that I like, and the artists that I like, and so I check what's happening and what are the new drops, and and I'm constantly having new ones, and I think it's beautiful, because it's and yes, I'm a collector as much as I'm an artist, I feel, to be honest, and I love to be mind blown by the artists I'm discovering. There are so many different kind of art, so many different approaches, and from, let's say, Nicolas Sassoon, very generative, to Laurence Fuller, kind of poetic AI approach, to so many, and yeah,
it's constant inspiration.
I'm happy to stepping in this world. And, I'm just stepping in it. So I'm very humble, and I don't want to. I'm not comparing myself to them, but I'm really happy to be part of it. Yeah.
And we're happy to have you here. I mean, to everyone, go check out what Seb's doing on Objkt. I was lucky to get a small sneak peek yesterday, and it looks amazing. It's time to move on to the last segment of the show. We've decided to make it a bit more playful, so we'll have a round of rapid-fire questions. I'll ask you 10 questions in total.
Rapid-fire questions?
Rapid fire. That's how we call it.
So it has to be a rapid answer?
It has to be, somewhat of a rapid answer. So in total, we'll have 10 questions with an either-or question followed by an open question. You'll understand as soon as I start.
Wait a second, I put my bot on it, so he will answer.
So are you ready?
Yeah.
DJing or producing?
Producing.
Favorite track ever?
No, it's not called DJ. It depends. You ask me this. We have Tuesday. Of course, I'm tired from the weekend and the parties, so I say producing. But if you ask me on Thursday, and I will say DJ, because I want to be to the weekend and play.
That's really every day. There's a different idea. Huh? So DJing.
Both.
Okay. Favorite track ever? Rapid fire.
Manual coaching E2, E4
Objkt or OpenSea?
object.
Favorite crypto artist?
Oh, it's terrible, these questions. I will say, to be honest, I will say Lorenz Fuller, because what I love with this artist is using technology, but also there is so much poesy, and I'm attracted by this.
Absolutely, I love Lawrence Fuller, for sure. Club or festival?
Club.
Favorite DJ to go back to back with?
I would love to DJ with an AI one day. I would love to play with an AI.
Okay, and do you think you can make that happen soon from a technological standpoint?
I did a track with actually a hologram. It was 10 years ago, and it was an algorithm named Hatsune Miku. It's a Japanese artist, and it was my very first music I did with an algorithm, and it was already 10 years ago. So I felt, I think we're gonna have like this kind of opportunities, maybe let's say in 3 years. Let's say.
We'll be looking forward to that. Vocals or instrumentals?
I'm a very bad singer, so I would say vocal.
Okay. Favorite book?
1994.
You've partly answered this, but I'll ask it anyway. Today or tomorrow?
Today.
What's your favorite motto?
To be honest, I think I don't have one.
Okay. Then maybe you can give a message to the community and everyone who's listening to us. Final words?
I like to think that every actions we are doing nowadays will change tomorrow.
That is actually the perfect way to end it. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the Ledger. I'll be looking forward to seeing you soon, and yeah, you can come on the Ledger whenever you want. And I think this is the first of many future times that we'll have you here.
Oh, thank you. That's been an absolute pleasure, and thanks for everyone. And actually, you know what? I have a ledger.
Okay, that's cool. Makes me feel reassured that all the crypto art you've been collecting is in a safe place.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Speak soon. That's it. If you've enjoyed this and want to check out Agoria's work, head to Foundation or Objkt as he's mentioned. You clearly won't regret it. And if you want to explore crypto and NFTs, as usual, we've got you covered with the Ledger Academy, School of Block, and our brand new show called Down the Rabbit Hole, so be sure to check that out as well. This was On the Ledger from Paris with your host Mol Sayed. Till next time, take care. Au revoir. This content is provided for informational purposes only and is the sole expression of our opinion and should not be relied upon as legal, business, investment, or tax advice. Do your own research. Any loss or profit is your sole responsibility. Stay safe.